Welcome to True Tales from the Other Side. If you have a true encounter with the unexplained that you want to share, contact us through the email address below. Enjoy.
Hey, I don't even know why I'm leaving this message, but I need to get it out, you know? So, it was summer, 2014. I was working as a camp counselor way up in northern New Mexico, right by the Navajo Nation. Beautiful, but, pretty isolated, like some deep pine forests, cliffs, all that stuff. I'd heard stories about, skinwalkers. People said they were shapeshifters or witches or something. Supposedly they can, turn into animals and just lurk out in the wilderness. I thought it was just stories, something to scare kids around the campfire. Anyway, one night I had to lead this group of campers on a short hike down to the creek. It was just after sunset, so, everything had this kind of pink-orange glow. But the air felt weird. I don't know. The woods just seemed quieter than usual. Something was just off. So, we're walking for a bit. And suddenly one of the kids stops and says, "Did you hear that?" We all go quiet. And then I hear this low howl like a wolf. It's wrong. It was all distorted, like it was trying to be something it wasn't. I'm trying to play it off, oh, it's probably a coyote. But I didn't believe that myself. We kept walking, but then that sound came again. Way closer this time. There was this high-pitched scream mixed in, almost human sounding. And honestly, it freaked me out. And then there was this smell, like rotting meat, heavy, just in the air. I'm looking around trying to figure out where it's coming from, but there's nothing, just shadows. Then we hear this rustling in the bushes, and suddenly this thing just bolts out of the trees. It was on all fours, but not moving like any animal. It was hunched over, limbs all wrong, too long and out of proportion, jerky like it was, I don't know, pretending to be something else. The kids started screaming, and I just yelled at them, "Go, run." And we're running back to camp as fast as we can. And I can hear it behind us, claws scraping on rocks. This horrible breathing, like it was right there. We made it back to the lodge, and I locked everyone inside. I stayed up all night. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, that thing. I'd heard the stories. That's when it hit me. Those legends, they're real. Next morning, I told the camp director a bit about it, and he just looks at me and goes, "You saw one, didn't you? A wolf, or maybe a man in wolf skin." And he told me to never go out there alone again, to just leave if I ever saw one. Not to mess with them. I haven't been in those woods at night since. Haven't, even thought about it. You can think I'm crazy if you want, but... you can think I'm crazy if you want, but... Skinwalkers are real. Whatever we saw that night, I don't ever want to see it again. Anyway, just, yeah, thanks.
Hey, yeah, it's me. Look, I don't usually go for all that supernatural stuff, you know? So, grew up in Saraland, Alabama. Typical outdoorsman, hunting, fishing, sitting around campfires now and then. Skinwalkers? Nah, that's just movie stuff, right? But... nah, that's just movie stuff, right? But... no, this was different. I came face to face with something I can't explain. I was out deer hunting, early November. Foggy morning. The kind where everything feels heavy, like the air's pressing down on you. I was alone, up in my tree stand in a thick oak. The woods around there, I know them like the back of my hand. Usually, you'd hear birds, squirrels, something, but that morning, nothing. The forest was dead quiet. My gut told me something was off, but I ignored it, figured it was just a slow morning. Then I heard it. I thought maybe a coyote or a stray dog at first. It was this weird rustling, followed by a high-pitched cry, half growl, half scream. Sounded almost human, but not right. I froze, tightened my grip on my rifle, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. The sound came again, closer. And then I saw it, at the edge of the trees. There was this figure moving through the brush. At first, I thought maybe it was some guy in camo stumbling through the woods. But the more I looked, the less it made sense. This thing was tall, too tall for a man. 7 feet, maybe more. And the way it moved, not human. Its legs were too long, arms swinging weirdly as it lurched forward. It was hunched, kind of like a wolf on 2 legs, but with this twisted human-like head. And that grin, it was hungry. Made my stomach turn. And the face, it was this pale grayish color, almost see-through, with these hollow, wide eyes and a stretched mouth that didn't look natural. Like it was mocking me. It just stood there in the shadows, staring at me. And I just knew, this wasn't some guy or some hunter messing around. This thing wasn't human. I tried to call out, but the words stuck in my throat. I couldn't move. My heart was hammering in my chest, like it wanted to escape my body. The figure tilted its head, almost like it was studying me. That's when I noticed something even worse. Its hands. They were huge. The fingers unnaturally long, and they seemed to twitch, as though it was trying to decide what to do next. My rifle was still raised, but I couldn't take my eyes off it. Then, it happened. The thing let out another sound, a horrific mix of a human scream and a wolf's howl. It echoed through the woods, sending a chill so deep into my bones I thought I might pass out. The noise made my ears ring, and the creature stepped forward, slowly, almost like it was savoring my fear. I didn't know what to do. My hands were shaking, and I swear to God, the air had gone cold, colder than it had any right to be. The hairs on my neck stood up, and my instincts screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. Then, just as I thought I couldn't take another second of that horrifying stare, the thing changed. It was like watching a person trying to shift into a different shape, bones cracking, joints popping, and in the blink of an eye, it wasn't a man anymore. It was something else. It was bigger. The face stretched. The eyes grew darker. The limbs elongated into something not human. The wind was quiet, and there was something eerie about the silence. No birds, no squirrels, not even the rustling of leaves. My gut told me something was off, but I chalked it up to just a slow morning. The forest was still dark, barely any sunlight breaking through the fog, and I kept my eyes on the clearing ahead of me, hoping to spot something. That's when I heard it. At first, I thought it was a coyote or maybe a stray dog. A faint rustling, followed by an odd, high-pitched cry. Half growl, half scream. It wasn't like anything I'd heard before. It sounded human, but not right. I froze, my rifle tight in my hands, and strained my ears. The sound came again, closer this time. Then I saw it. At the edge of the trees, moving through the brush, was what I thought at first was just some guy in a camo jacket, stumbling through the woods. But the more I looked, the less it made sense. The figure was tall, taller than any man I'd ever seen, maybe 7 feet. And the way it moved wasn't human. Its legs were too long, its arms swinging awkwardly as it lurched forward. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I'll never forget the way its body hunched over like a wolf on two legs, but with a twisted human-like head that grinned at me in a way that made my stomach turn. I don't remember making the decision. I don't remember if I aimed the rifle or if I just fired in pure panic. But the next thing I knew, I had squeezed the trigger, and the thing howled again. This time in pain. It wasn't the same scream. It was almost angry. The creature stumbled back a few steps, but it didn't run. It just stood there, glaring at me with those cold, black eyes. Then, without warning, it dropped to all fours, and in the blink of an eye, it was gone. The forest went quiet again. No wind. No rustling. Just the sound of my ragged breath and my heart pounding in my chest. I don't remember climbing down from that tree stand. I don't remember walking back to my truck, but somehow, I made it. When I looked back toward the woods, the fog had thickened, and the whole forest seemed darker than before. I didn't go back to those woods. I didn't hunt again that season. Hell, I haven't even been near that stretch of forest since that day. And I haven't told many people about what happened. I'm still not sure what I saw, but I know one thing for sure. What I encountered wasn't some stray dog, some hunter who'd gotten lost, or a figment of my imagination. It was something else. Something that shouldn't be in this world. People talk about skinwalkers, and I know they're not just stories anymore. Whatever I saw that day, it wasn't natural. And if you're out in those woods, you'd better keep your wits about you, because you might not be the only one watching.
Thanks for listening. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next set of tales from the other side. Submit your story to the email below. And remember, nothing is what it seems.